Hi everyone, welcome to another video for SimonsStamp.com. Today I'm starting out with some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock, and I'm coating it with the EK Success Powder Tool. I'm going to be doing a bit of stamping with Versamark and then embossing. So this is just going to help it so that the embossing powder doesn't stick to areas where I don't want it. Today I'm using the Designer Wood Grain stamp from Hero Arts. I'm just going to coat that with some Versamark ink and then press the cardstock down onto the large background stamp. This is the way I like to ink up my backgrounds because it's just a little bit easier. And just so you know that the craft color, the Desert Storm cardstock, is cut to a little bit smaller than a standard size card. It's cut to 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 tall. And I did that so that it would just nestle on the front of a card and have a little bit of a border on it. So I'm coating the stamped area with some clear embossing powder from American Crafts, and then I'm just holding it with a tweezer while I heat it up with my heat tool and get all that embossing powder to melt. I'm going to cut that cardstock piece with this die from Simons Stamp. This is the Falling Hearts die. It's a brand new die for Valentine's 2013, and I'm going to be cutting it out of the front of this Desert Storm stamped and embossed piece. Just running it through my Big Shot machine, and it's going to cut out all these little tiny hearts, and so you're going to be able to peel away and see all those little holes in the cardstock, and then you're going to have to clean out the die because the paper's going to stick in those little hearts. So I just use a push pin or a needle or this craft pick from Tim Holtz to punch out all those little hearts to clean out the die. Here I have some Neenah Solar White cardstock. It's cut to a standard size card. So the finished folded size is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 tall. Just use my mini scoring board and the Teflon bone folder to score that and fold it. Putting some foam adhesive in some of the blank spots on this die cut piece. And for the areas that are too small for the large foam squares that I have, I'm just using my scissors to cut it down so that it's a smaller piece of foam adhesive and will fit in those little areas. I sliced it into 3 little strips, and then that last little strip I actually cut in half so that it was even smaller, and that's going to give me small enough pieces to put up in those top corners, since those heart cutouts are pretty condensed up there. So after I had that, I went ahead and adhered it down onto my white note card. And now I'm going to move on to the stamped area. This is the Simon in Love stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm going to be stamping it, and I had to put it diagonally on my little Fiskars clear block. So I wanted to add a line so that I would be able to stamp it completely straight. Just give me a reference point. So I just penciled a line on, and now I'm stamping this in Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm going to be using some Copic markers to color this image in, and so I needed to use an ink color or a type of ink that wouldn't smudge or smear with Copic markers. So I used Memento ink and just press that down really, really well to get a good impression. And now I'm going to speed this up and take you through the coloring. So these 2 dogs here, one is Simon and one is Simone, kind of an inside joke with all of us at Simons Stamp. Simon is an actual dog. He's the dog owned by the founder of Simons Says Stamp, and he's a cutie. I've met him a few times in person. He's adorable. And so Simon has kind of a darker brown fur, and I'm going to be coloring Simone, his little girlfriend, in a lighter color. So I'm just going to be using some different tones of brown. And in fact, 2 tones that I'm using now, I'm going to be using on Simone as well. So I'm using E55, E57, and E59. And I'm just going back and forth between the lighter colors and the darker colors to get a pretty good blending of all the areas on Simon. So the easiest way that I can describe how I'm getting the blending here is that after I get the colors going, I almost sort of massage the colors together with the tip of the marker. You're not giving a lot of pressure, like you know, a really deep massage or whatever, deep tissue massage, nothing like that, but just enough to really merge those colors together. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my little voiceover here, and I'm just going to have music playing because this is going to go for a few more minutes. So I'll catch up with you after the coloring is done. Okay, so now that the coloring's done, I'm going to go ahead and finish stamping on this area. Have some Crimson Red VersaFine pigment ink. This is the pigment ink that dries really quickly. And I've inked up that little scallop stamp that's in the same stamp set. I'm just going to use that line I drew earlier to help reference for the dogs. Just going to keep that line there to help me get a straight line across with this little scallop stamp. So I trimmed it down so it was smaller just around the stamped area, and then took off the corners with my corner chomper. I used the 1/4 inch corner chomper, and I'm just cleaning up that pencil area. I always like to make sure that my ink is completely dry before I ever start erasing. So now I'm using the Talk Bubbles 2 die set. This is also a brand new die set for Valentine's 2013 from Simon Says Stamp. I'm only going to be using one of these little Talk Bubbles, but I decided to go ahead and keep them intact and not take them apart quite yet, because you can always use tons of these little Talk Bubbles on cards. So I used some VersaFine onyx ink, some black onyx ink, to stamp the More Than Puppy Love, and then I used that Crimson Red once again to stamp the little heart. And I'm going to be putting this little thought bubble up above Simon. So I adhered Simon and Simone with some foam adhesive and then put that little talk bubble right on top. And that finishes the card for today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys on Thursday for another video.